Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Scratch the Vinyl. I'm so glad you guys came back for another week. It's been amazing times going on, but now we've got another guest on our hands, everybody. Every week we try to put the best guests in front of you guys, and this guest is going to be no different. First off, I'm just going to do a little preface here for a moment. He was in a band that we've referred to in the past, a band that I used to follow around, a band that's really major for the city of Lincoln and the history of some of the musicians out there in the metal world. I can't wait to dive into it. He's kind of transitioned, as most of us have. We all get older and we start with our metal roots and we rock, and we really just don't care about anything when we're younger. But then as we get older, we kind of move on to progress to different types of music. And he's in the band DadRock. So let's just bring him on right now. Let's get our guest, Brock Wettstead. Brock, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course. So, I can't tell you enough, man, how much excitement. We had Jesse Dean on and he was talking about Dirtfedd. And I was pumped then. But then when I found out that, you were one of the guys that I used to follow around with your band Dirtfedd, I couldn't have been more thrilled to know that you're coming on the show. So, I'm super pumped about it. I know that the other hosts are. Let's bring them on right now. First off, we have the Big Red Machine, the 5-second delay machine, Brooke Johnson. Brooke, how are you doing?
I'm doing so well, thank you. I'm not a witch today.
You're not a witch. I'm not going to call you. I feel like I almost feel derogatory by calling you a witch. Like maybe all pale ladies get tired of being called a witch. I know my wife does. But it's better than calling her other things. So
that's true. But yes, I'm doing well. Thank you, Cade.
And we have the chill man himself, the Godzilla of entertainment, Lincoln's entertainment guy to go to for every single thing that you could possibly think of. The man, the myth, the legend. We have Randy Wilson. Randy, how are you?
Well, I'm excited to have Brock on today because after we talked to Jesse, I started having all these flashbacks of kind of my starting and promoting of metal bands, and literally these guys were my number one, and
oh wow,
they went on to do great things. And in fact, down at my bar downtown, I actually had a plaque. We actually hung it up for you guys that you had when you guys had went on tour with Slipknot, and I think it was some magazine and it wrote an article about you guys or something, and we'd laminated and put it on a plaque and hung it up for you guys. It was it was a big deal for us. So
that's cool.
So it's good to have you on the show, Brock.
Nice. Thanks for having me. Yeah. Those are anytime somebody says, oh, we had your band play, I was kind of wince like, oh no, what did we do? But
we had epic times back then.
Good.
That's a question for later that I'll be asking you.
Oh no. Yeah.
I think that's all of us as musicians. I know me, and I try to reflect on all the shows that I played. But then I do have people come up to me and they'll be like, yeah, I saw you in this town or I saw you in that town. And I'll get that instant dread, like, oh no, like what? Because I was the singer and I was always running around and rolling on the ground and doing all sorts of things to get people's attention. And I can only imagine. I mean, was there a farm animal involved? Like what could have possibly happened? So that's the joy of playing in this great city. You guys are still a huge deal to many people here in this town, especially when it comes to metalheads. People reflect fondly of you guys and what you guys did. I mean, it gave us something as metal fans to be proud of here, and you should be proud of what you guys did. I mean, what you accomplished, playing in the same stages as Slipknot. I mean, I'm an Iowa boy at heart. I know Nebraska fans, you can earmuff yourself if you want. You can be mad at me, but that's just how it is. And Slipknot are heroes of us there. And so I can only imagine. But why don't you tell us first, before we dive into all that, let's get into the start. Why did you get into music? How did you get into the metal scene and all of that type of stuff? Like, just tell us a little bit of background on you in music.
Oh, man. I mean, I guess I had two older brothers, so there was always I'm the youngest, so my middle brother's about 10 years older than me. But he always had like metal tapes and records around. And for some reason, the first tape that I ever latched onto was Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil. Just because of the cover, it looked, I don't know, it had like their 4 faces on it, and it just kind of caught my attention, obviously. So I started playing that, and I literally remember playing this tape in my Fisher-Price tape player when I was probably 6 years old. Yeah, whatever it was, like, sparked something in me. So I kind of went down the rabbit hole, you know, as a kid, of kind of not heavier music, but just stuff more on the rock side. And then I actually had a kid in my neighborhood who I kind of looked up to, and he's like, "Oh, you know, Motley Crue, that sucks. Like, you should check out Metallica and Pantera." And he kind of turned me on to heavier. So then I got into that, and I think the rest is kind of history from there as far as my musical tastes. Fast forward to, you know, probably 19 years old, and my best friend Eric Marshall and I wanted to start a metal band in Lincoln. And so we just got together with, you know, there used to be this website called slamomaha.com. If you're an old school local music person, you'll probably recognize it. But we actually put a classified thing on there saying that we were looking to start a band. That's how we met the other guys. I mean, we all connected and started Dirtfedd. It was 2002. We just started playing locally. We actually started playing at the Ranch Bowl in Omaha first. That's kind of a funny story because we actually we got banned from there. This just kind of is the start of the story of our band, like just endless crazy things happening. But we got banned from the Ranch Bowl because our singer Dustin got completely naked while we were playing. They didn't appreciate that. So they sent us a letter in the mail saying that we were, due to our, you know, lewd behavior or whatever, we're no longer allowed to play in their establishment. So because we got banned from the one and only place that let us play, I guess we had to start finding other places to play. And so we started begging Knickerbockers to let us come there. And we're from Lincoln anyway, so it was like, kind of made sense to start building a base there. So Knickerbockers let us start playing. And yeah, we kind of quickly gained a following. And I think, you know, we worked hard at it, you know, just like the old school printing off flyers. And anytime there was a big band in town, we were always at those shows handing out flyers to our next show. I burned thousands of demo CDs. I probably ruined my brother's CD burner a few different times. And yeah, I used to stand outside of shows with stacks of Dirtfedd demos, probably had 3 songs on them, and people are coming out of the show drunk. They grab your demo. The first thing they do is they throw it in their car, hopefully, and they don't throw it out the window. But yeah, that's kind of how that started. Just very chaotic beginnings. And I think that chaos just kind of continued throughout our whole 10 years together.
What got you into like the actual musicianship of it all? Like, did you have a musical background? Did you do school band and all that like a lot of kids do? How did you decide to get into the band process?
Yeah, so I'm a drummer, and I think I was just always naturally drawn to drums. But I think the thing that probably sparked it the most was I mentioned this kid in my neighborhood that was kind of a metalhead. He actually had a drum kit in his bedroom. And so I think that interested me. Like, I always kind of looked at him playing and just thought that was pretty cool. So I think that probably sparked something in me. So that was probably age 10. And then eventually I got my own drum kit at home, probably 12 years old, and just practiced. And I was in school band for a little bit, but I also played sports. I played like every sport in high school. So I kind of decided eventually, once I got to high school, I chose sports over band. Eventually, once I got out of high school into college, then that's when we started Dirtfedd and kind of picked back up. But yeah, I don't really have like any formal training or anything. Definitely self-taught, just kind of a caveman. Definitely not a finesse guy by any means. So
I have a quick question for you before we keep going here. Who was the nude one that got you all kicked out in the band?
Yeah, his name's Dustin. He was our singer. You know, everybody knows him as just kind of a wild man. I don't know how else to describe him. He's like
the Chili Peppers, or he just have a sock on, maybe.
Yep, he's just
Anthony.
a walking ADHD train wreck. He's a perfect front man, that's for sure. And so, yeah, he definitely, and he was great. I mean, as far as a metal vocalist, you know, he was just wild. He had a great scream. You know, we also incorporated a little bit of melody into it wasn't just full blown screaming. And, you know, we tried to incorporate a little bit of melody into our music, and he was able to switch back and forth, which is, I guess back then would be considered, that whole genre was considered like metalcore is what people called it. Heavy metal has like a million subgenres and subgenres. So, but I think if we had to fit ourselves into anything, it's probably the metalcore category.
It was worth getting kicked out.
Yeah. I guess I didn't realize this, but there's this documentary that's, I don't know if it's out, about the Ranch Bowl, and somebody actually talks about that incident in there, but I don't know. It created a little bit of like folklore around our band, and I think that helped a little bit of us being kind of out of our minds, I guess, because then that continued into Lincoln. There were incidents at some of our shows in Lincoln, the State Theater. It's the Bourbon Theater now, but we had an incident there on a St. Patrick's Day where I think somebody had gotten stabbed in the mosh pit, and they got shut down, and police showed up at the end. And yeah, just there's a lot of those kind of situations, but that's why, as you can understand, I always kind of wince a little bit when somebody says that they had us play at their bar, you know.
You know, it's entertaining. That's what we love, is the entertainment.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about a time that you guys was your beginning success. And I was reminded of this by Jesse Dean on one of our previous episodes. We were talking, and he was talking about how his birthday was on Halloween or the day after. And we had done this show. And I said, dude, that was at my place with Dirtfedd. And he's like, yeah. And you guys were, like I said, just in the beginning, I think right out of high school, and you were looking for a place to play. And I thought you guys were very respectful, and you had a great crowd. And every time you guys played at my place, you guys always brought a great crowd, and we never had any crazy incidents, just everybody having a good time. So I don't think it was all crazy.
No, that's good to hear. Yeah, I remember.
Do you remember those humble beginnings?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, that was fun. And that's just an example of, used to try to think outside the box a little bit on places we played. And, we played some interesting, we played like a barn, somebody's barn on a farm in Beatrice. Like we played in the middle of a skate ramp in Omaha. Like it just a lot of random places, but tried to think outside the box a little bit as far as reaching new people and different venues.
Well, I'll tell you a little side note to that show. This is the one thing I do remember about the show. It was a Sunday night, and you guys were bringing it hard. And if you were outside, I don't know, you couldn't tell, but it was rocking hard inside. And I had a guy that lived 3 blocks away come walking in while you guys were performing, and he's yelling at me. He's like, "Can you turn this down? My wife can't sleep because of the percussion." And we're talking 3 blocks away. And I go, this guy's got to be crazy, right? So I go outside. Of course, you can't hear it, but you can kind of feel that pounding. So you guys are hitting it hard. And even when he called the cops, and I go and talk with the cops outside, and we walk down to the sidewalk, and I go, listen, the city ordinance is after midnight. And if you could tell me you could hear that band playing out here at the sidewalk, he's like, I can't hear it, but I know what he's talking about. So if you guys out there are listeners, Brock could hit the drums.
I always joke that I had to make up for talent by just playing harder. So
I think I remember that, Randy. For some reason, cops were called. I might have been there. Or you were telling me the story. I think I might have been there.
Oh, that guy was yelling at me, and I like, dude, it's a business. We got a party. What do you want me to do? Come back tomorrow for a hamburger, for God's sakes.
I feel like he had like dogs or something that were always loud, and you're like, you know what? Your dogs are louder. Yeah, I do remember that, dude. Man, whatever. But you started the drums at like 10, though, right?
I would say so. Yeah.
You had older brothers, so they didn't do any stepbrother stuff on you. Like there was nothing on your drums, or they didn't mess with you or anything.
No, they're too much older than me. We didn't really have that sort of rivalry going on.
So then you started with you did Dirtfedd and all that. What are you currently up to?
So yeah, I would say probably 2019. Once again, me and my friend Eric Marshall, we hadn't really been doing anything. Eric had spent a little time playing in Flannel Channel with another cover band in Lincoln. I think we were actually sitting at a bar. We just kind of started brainstorming about how fun it might be to start a cover band. And just let me preface this by saying, all those years in Dirtfedd, I absolutely despised cover bands. And I'm still not a huge fan of cover bands, which is ironic. But back then, like those cover bands and us couldn't have been in further apart universes. So, but now, ironically, we decided to start a cover band, and we thought there's not really any cover bands that play like hard rock like you hear on the Blaze or something, like Foo Fighters, Weezer, whatever, bands like that. And so we decided to put that together. We called up our friends, Joe Clapper, he's in Ghetto Blaster. Justin Kuhn plays bass for us, and he was actually in Dirtfedd for a little bit at the end. And then Eric Wilkinson is our other guitar player. And yeah, so we're just all friends. We've been friends for a long time. And actually, Justin Kuhn and Joe were in a metal band back in the day called Section 8. And Dirtfedd and Section 8 used to play together all the time. And so, like I said, yeah, it's a very small world, especially in the heavy metal punk scene. So yeah, we all got together and then brainstorming names. We're all old, washed up ex-musicians. So we're all dads. So we're like, I just threw out the word DadRock. They all liked it because, back in the day, that was kind of a derogatory term. Like, oh, that stuff sucks, man. That's DadRock. I don't want to listen to that, So we thought that was a clever name for our band. And then I had my buddy, Corey, who actually used to design all the Dirtfedd merch back in the day. I asked him if he would create our logo, but use like the Korn font with the backwards R and stuff. So that's how that started. 2019, right before the pandemic. Perfect timing. Yeah, we've been going like, I guess 5 years now, and it's fun.
It is a lot of fun. I've got to go to some of your shows with DadRock, and
yeah,
you rock it. Let me tell you. Dads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The idea was that we'd put together a cover band that was like, we wouldn't take ourselves super seriously, but we would sound good. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think there's a lot of cover bands that they definitely take the whole thing very seriously, and we have a little more of a casual, I guess, punk rock style approach to it. And we don't wear goofy costumes or anything, except Joe. We give him a hard time.
I was going to say, Joe, he can dress up all kinds of stuff. I think when he was in Ghetto Blaster, they all dressed up as, I don't know, they were really tight uniforms or outfits. And his wife had a bunch of socks in the back room. They're like, here you go, guys. That was quite funny.
Yeah, those guys get into the theme of like usually Halloween shows. They'll all dress the same, but yeah, those guys are our good friends too. So, but that's what we, DadRock, and we just play Cappies and Gray's Keg, and we've done some street dances, and so definitely a complete 180 from what Eric and I used to do with Dirtfedd. So, but it's fun.
Well, tell some of the listeners out there that haven't seen you guys yet, like what are you guys playing? Like what's on your set list? Like what are you guys playing now, and where you kind of mentioned a little bit about where you guys play, but maybe like where you guys will be playing here in the near future and that type of stuff.
Yeah. Well, our next show is actually on March 7th at Cappies. So it's like I think it's a Friday night. So we don't play a ton of shows. Like I would say at the most maybe once a month, and that's at the most. So yeah, March 7th at Cappies, and that's always fun. It's always a pretty good crowd when we play there. And as far as our set list, I mean, pretty much if you turn on the Blaze, 9 out of the 10 songs you hear we probably play them in our set. So it's like Foo Fighters, Weezer, Green Day, Bush. We even play a Creed song, which is funny. Yeah, Limp Bizkit, Drowning Pool. We play Metallica, Pantera. You know, it kind of goes. It's the full spectrum. We do some heavier songs like Pantera, White Zombie, and then you know, we have some. We even play a song by Lifehouse, if anybody remembers them. So they're one hit probably, but it's fun. Yeah, it's a good time. And we try to play songs that are going to be more like crowd participation that people can sing along to. You know, so keep people engaged. And that's always kind of a work in progress. We're always working new songs into our set, so we don't play the same thing every time.
It's so refreshing to hear that. You know, I was in a lot of cover bands before. And the thing is I know people are getting tired of hearing Leonard Skinner, right? And hearing the same old, you know, Jenny and all this. I love those songs and there's a place for them, but it's so refreshing to have a band who wants to take on these other parts of rock, right? That we're dying to hear. Like, I mean, I definitely have to go see you guys because you're speaking my language here on all of this stuff. It would just, I mean, if maybe I can get EJ to show up to one of these shows and it could just be like listening to the Blaze back in the day. That'd be fantastic. But
yeah,
you guys seem to be doing God's work out there with what you're doing so far.
Yeah, EJ, I see EJ at our shows all the time, actually. So
yeah. He's definitely one of my favorite guests that we've had on, and it's so cool for me. Like when I've walked into Kelly's Pub or something, and he's there, and actually have him like shout at me, you know, to come over and like hang out with him for a moment. I'm like, holy crap! Like that's it's weird that I get starstruck, but it's like that's EJ, man. Like I used to listen to him and see him at like all the huge shows, and want to like go up and talk to him, and I was always afraid to. So it's pretty cool, man.
The Blaze, I mean, when we first started this, you know, I had the first person I reached out to was Animal at the Blaze, because I've had a relationship with him since back in the Dirtfedd days. We used to go on, he used to let us come on his morning show, Tim and the Animal, and like promote our stuff all the time. But the Blaze has been very supportive of us, and they promote our shows whenever we play. So it's been a nice relationship with them for well over a decade.
All right. It's that wonderful, magical time of the show. The best time, I think, aside from the show itself, of course, but it's that time when we talk about our great sponsors. We run those awesome commercials, and we then do the local roundup where we tell you guys where to go, things to do, people to see, all that good stuff. So stick around for all of that, and then we'll get back with our guest, drummer, formerly of Dirtfedd, now with DadRock, Brock Wettstead. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, get ready to rumble with the Ultimate Beard Care Showdown. Introducing our headliner, the one, the only, Squatch.
Oh yeah, Mean Jim. Squatch in the house, and I'm here to tell you about beard products that'll make your whiskers the talk of the town. If your beard's ready to take on the world, you need the power of our beard balms, butters, and oils, brother.
That's right, Squatch. Let's kick things off with the Beard Balm of Legends.
This beard balm is like a body slam for your beard. It tackles those wild hairs and smooths them out, making your beard look like $1,000,000. No sweat, brother.
What's the scoop with the beard butter?
Oh, brother, it's a game changer. This butter makes your beard softer than a cloud and as easy to manage as a well-oiled wrestling machine. Plus, it's got a scent that's as sweet as victory. Oh, yeah.
And let's not forget the beard oil.
The beard oil is the final knockout punch. It hydrates, shines, and smells like a championship belt made of cedar and pine. Your beard will be the 1, 2, 3 of any match.
Where can our fans score these unbeatable products?
You read my mind, brother. Head on over to elegantsasquatchco.etsy.com and grab your beard gear. And listen up. Use the code SUPERSHOW and get a jaw-dropping 20% off. That's right, 20% off. Your beard's about to go from zero to hero, brother.
That's elegantsasquatchco.etsy.com and use your code SUPERSHOW for 20%. Don't wait, make your beard the ultimate champ today. Ahoy, mateys! Christopher Columbus here. You know me. I discovered America, or at least that's what the history books have been saying for years. Anyways, I have a little confession to make. My compass quit halfway through the trip, and I got lost at sea on the way there.
Ahoy, Captain. What direction should we point the boat?
Shut up, you fool. I'm in the middle of a commercial here. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, yes. When we arrived on land there, the natives were all decked out in their cool Viking gear. They said these big, smelly, bearded guys came, hung out, then split with all their cool stuff.
Hi, it was a weird day.
That could have been our cool stuff. We could have claimed all this great treasure and all this pirate's plunder.
But, sir, how will we steer the boat if we don't have a compass?
Well, this next trip is going to be different. I'm heading to Sly Ink Tattoo to get a compass on my hand. After that, everything is coming up Christopher Columbus.
Ahoy, sir. That new ink looks great on you. After I swapped the poop deck and greased the hootenannies, I think we're going to be back to speed and... Oh, no.
What is it now, you buffoon?
It appears as if America's shores are just on the horizon.
What? How could this be? I've been pointing my arm in the same direction for days. Well, looks like this tattoo compass is broken too. Guess I'll have to head back to Sly Ink for that dolphin lower back tattoo I've been wanting to get. Well, looks like our native friends are waving us in, but oh, wait, they don't look very happy. Well, until next time, friends, if there is one. All right, let's get to that local roundup. There's a ton going on this weekend, so let's not waste any time here. First off, we have Gray's Keg this Saturday. There's a massive show going on there, 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. It's a Siphon CD release party for their Irresponsible Entertainment album. There's going to be multiple bands, so they've got Siphon, obviously, Dead Man's Hand, Crack Mountain, and Evil Shadows playing that show. It's going to be massive, so metal fans, rock fans, get out there and support that show. It's going to be amazing. Next week, they have, for January 11th, 8:30 p.m., they've got our friends at Hooked. They're going to be playing a show, $5 cover then, so make your plans for this weekend and next at Gray's. Next, we have the Zoo Bar. There's a couple big shows happening there. They've got Josh Hoyer and Soul Colossal. They are gearing up and getting ready for a massive competition that they're doing. It's a blues challenge. It's an international type thing where hundreds of bands get together and they're representing Nebraska in this competition. So they're kind of having a little bit of a fundraiser going on there to support them and build steam so that they can be Nebraska's representative for blues at that competition. So go see them. That's going to be Friday at 5 p.m. So go check them out and go support them and give them what they need to get going. Also, later on that night at 9 p.m., they have Stranded in the City. They're a band out of Kansas City. $12 cover. It sounds like a great time. They play a massive mixture of different things. Tex-Mex. They've got all sorts of different styles going on with this band, so it's definitely worth a look on that one. Then we have Madson's. Madson's Bowling and Billiards has Rock and Bowl, and they have a rockin' good time going on there. They have the Dirty Boots Band. Brady wanted a country band, and now they have one, and they have them this Saturday at 8 p.m., so get there for that. Other sponsors to mention, I want to mention Roots Music Shop always. All you musicians, I know you're listening out there, go to Roots if you need your guitars set up and fixed. You can also get your instruments just set up how you want them. You can buy, sell, trade. You can get used instruments. I think he has some new ones in there of all different types. You're really missing out if you don't go to Roots. Tell Ryan when you go there that the STV crew, that's us, Scratch the Vinyl, sent you, and I'm sure he will embrace you as if you were a brother of his own or sister, depending on who goes. So go check that out. Last but not least, we do have Jason Nagash with American Senior Benefits. It's a retirement specialist specializing in Medicare supplements and Medicare Advantage plans, life insurance, investments, and long-term care, as well as home health care, along with many other products that they offer. Jason travels throughout Nebraska helping individuals on a daily basis. And if you have somebody who needs assistance with this type of thing, then there's no one better to call than Jason at 402-416-9060. Now let's get back to our guest, Brock Wettstead.
Speaking of the Blaze, I just posted, I had a memory come, a Google memory come up on my page yesterday, and it was this promo we did with Man versus Food with the Blaze, and everybody's just, we did all these crazy contests, eating contests, but I loved working with the Blaze. Those guys, we always were doing something on the cutting edge, and of course that music was great, and I really love that interview we did with EJ. It brought back some great memories, and you guys were part of that. That's my whole point. We find this show, everything comes back full circle, and you were talking about repetitive stuff. Joe, I see Joe a lot. Joe comes in, and when he shows up, the crowd always wants him to sing, and they always want him to do Simple Man, the same stuff. And I go, Joe, just give him something else. So I'll usually pick something like Breaking Benjamins or Three Doors Down, something else just to break it up. And he's awesome. I don't know why, but for some reason he thought for a long time that I hated him or something. I love that. I love that guy.
Yeah,
he's hilarious. He's hilarious. And he's like this gentle giant of a guy. And I think a lot of people are just intimidated.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a lot of it. Yeah. You can't hate the guy. I mean,
no, he's got a great voice.
Yeah. And he has a really funny wife. Let me tell you, her and I just laugh at her constantly. Like by the time I get done, my cheeks are hurting, and she's those two are so.
No, you two are a piece in a pod. You and Angie, you put Brooke and Angie in a room together, and look out.
Yeah,
there's some stories. Let me tell you.
Oh, I'm sure.
Your show will get shut down because they'll get naked, and the show will get canceled.
That's not a lie. That's not a lie. Nope. Yep. We will do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Angie's a trip.
She's a lovely woman. I love her.
So you guys played on the big stage. You guys played around Slipknot. Obviously, Slipknot is notorious for being one of the wildest bands out there. But let me ask you this: did you get a chance to talk to them much, or witness them like in the backstage area? What were they like off stage?
Well, I guess a little backstory how we even became connected with them. So Clown from Slipknot, Sean Cran, he actually took us under his wing and kind of like was our manager. So he came and saw us play in Omaha, and I know Jesse mentioned that, us and Narcotic Self kind of played this 89.7 The River showcase thing or whatever. Anyway, Clown came and he took a liking to us, and he had a meeting with us, said he wanted to help us get signed and produce our first album. And so that's what he did. He got us a couple showcases set up in New York City. So we hopped in the van and drove down there and showcased for a bunch of record labels, Roadrunner Records. And we ended up signing to it was called Koch Records at the time, and then it changed to E1. They signed us, and we recorded our first album, and Clown was the producer. And then as soon as that was done, he took us out for a summer with Slipknot and Korn. It was kind of like it wasn't a tour, but it was like a bunch of radio festivals, and they let us come along with them. So it was, Slipknot and Korn were the headliners of those shows, and we got to come and play Oklahoma City, like Little Rock, Arkansas, Sioux Falls. We got to do that. And then 2012, Sean got us on the Rockstar Mayhem Festival, which Slipknot headlined. So it was Slipknot and Slayer and Motorhead and Anthrax were like the top bands, and then a million other bands, and we were at the very bottom. We were the afternoon band. But that tour, that was probably a 6 or 7 week tour the summer of 2012. And then when we got back from that tour, we got to play the very first Knot Fest, which was in Iowa. And that's kind of a point of pride for us. We were the very first band of the very first Knot Fest. So, and that was fun. Deftones played, Machine Head, Surge from System of a Down was there. So yeah, that was quite a trip, that whole time period. But about Slipknot, I mean, those guys, you know, they're just like us. They're Midwest dudes. They're from Iowa. They're just down to earth people, salt of the earth. There's no rock star vibe with them at all. So they were just as kind to us as you would expect people to be from the Midwest. So, and they didn't have to be, you know, they're the kings and we're the little peons of the tour, but they treated us, you know, just like royalty. It was great.
Man, what an experience to be on. Like, I mean, you guys got to experience what all of us in metal were trying to do. I mean, honestly, like you got to be, maybe there's things that you're not fond of when you think about certain aspects of it. Like I look at my past in music and I'm not fond of a lot of things that I did, but I mean, that's an accomplishment. I mean, that's amazing. You guys are on the first Knot Fest. Think about how amazing those bands are. I mean, Chino Moreno and Deftones. I mean, these are the best bands in the world, and they're still doing it at a high level.
Right.
So, I mean, what an awesome time for you. But is it possible to, or do you guys still have your music from then available, or is that no longer?
Oh yeah, it's out there. I mean, you know, it's Spotify, Amazon. I mean, anywhere you can buy music, you can buy our albums. It's called The American Nightmare. It's the only Dirtfedd album that was released under E1 Records. And but yeah, it's everywhere. It even pops up every once in a while when we're listening to like Pandora at home, like some metal station, and one of our songs will pop up. But yeah, it's still out there forever. So whether we like it or not.
You know what I'll be doing the rest of the day? I'll be Dirtfedd rocking it here.
Like you mentioned, you know, things you're not proud of. I mean, in the big picture, I'm very proud of what we accomplished. It was definitely, you know, a lot of dark times, and the band came to an end. But ultimately, I'm proud of everything we did. But being in a band and trying to get to that level is just super hard. It's nearly impossible, especially today. 2012, you know, we were all 31 years old, and some of us had kids at that point, you know, small kids. My son was 2 years old, and he's 15 now, or he's about to turn 15. And I just didn't want to burn the candle at both ends anymore, you know. And you kind of have to be a pirate if you want your band to make it. You have to live on the road. You have to be a pirate. And at 30 years old, at that point, you're considered kind of over the hill when it comes to like that style of music. So yeah, when we got done with Knotfest, I was actually the one that decided to leave the band. I wanted to go back to school. I was kind of burnt out on it, and I figured like we'd peaked. You know, what more could we do? So the only thing ahead of me in my mind was we go out and keep grinding it out, and evil substances that kind of work their way in, and you know, all those cliches, but it's true for our band. So I guess I kind of jumped off I always say I jumped off before the ship hit the rocks. And I went back to school, and yeah, I couldn't be happier doing what I do now. So,
well, it sounds like DadRock's perfect then.
Yeah.
You're all dads. It's kind of like when you have a group of friends that are all moms, you can relate, like, oh, I can't make it to practice tonight because we have other practices on the soccer field, or
right. Yeah.
Everybody they understand each other. And I did notice on I think it was Facebook, I was watching, and you guys were practicing, and I want to say it was Joe or somebody had the video, and you had some of your kids were there. I think it was your turn to have the kids tonight because mom's, you know, doing everything, and had little videos with them. It was so cute. I loved it so much. Do you guys do a lot of stuff with the kids, with the band? Like I did notice a few videos, but I think they'd probably get them.
When we first started, we used to make kind of some funny videos and involve our kids in that to promote our shows, just to kind of get people's attention. We haven't done that for a little while, but yeah, actually one of our promo photos, it's like all of us sitting on a couch, and you can actually see some of our kids in the background, like playing. So that wasn't even planned, but it turned out cool. So
I saw that. That was one of my favorites. I think that's really cool. Do you have like all these shows now and all these kids are showing up? No.
No. Sometimes there's kids when we play like outdoor street dance type things. Joe has to censor himself a little bit, but yeah.
I was gonna say, I wonder how. Yeah, but Joe's Joe. It's like it just rolls off. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, he's a pro, man. He knows what to do. Yeah, it's not his first rodeo.
Right.
I'm always afraid someone's going to show up to my shows with a kid and say it's mine. You know,
no.
Kate, I was going to say that. I'm like, well,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I knew her about 14 years ago.
You got to be careful of those mosh pits. You start slamming into girls you don't know.
Well,
Right.
That's what Jesse said. I think someone was doing some acts in one of your guys' shows in the mosh pit.
Oh God. Yeah, there's been some scary moments for sure. I was just thinking about that. Recently somebody had asked me, like, talking about injuries for some reason in mosh pits. And we actually had a scary incident at Knickerbockers where we were playing and a fight kind of broke out on the floor. And if you're familiar with Knickerbockers, like there's the room where the band plays, and then there's like a bar side next to it. And the fight kind of spilled over into the bar side while we were playing. Somebody got pushed through the front window, which if you remember Knickerbockers, they have those giant windows. The piece of glass came down on his arm and actually filleted his bicep, plopped down. It sliced his muscle off, and somebody had to put his muscle back together and like put a belt around it like a tourniquet until the ambulance arrived. It was crazy. So, yeah.
Did you take a quick picture so it could be like the head of your album cover or something? Like,
No, it should have been on our old Facebook page, Dirtfed's Facebook page. We actually had a photo album dedicated to injuries, and it was called, I think it's probably still on there. It's called Satisfied Customers. And it's just pictures of bloody people.
I'm looking that up.
Yeah. So
sounds interesting.
yeah, I'm glad those days are over.
Well, Brock, man, what a journey. And first off, we really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing some of this information with us. And I this is the kind of stuff our listeners really love. And I think, especially inspiring people that, wish they could go try or be part of a band or just learning. But so before we get you out of here, we always like to kind of find out what kind of did you have vinyl in your collection? Were you a cassette guy? Were CDs? Where were you at?
You mean growing up?
Growing up,
I would say started out with cassettes, and I had one of those double-sided like cassette holders, where you could. And of course, I was maybe a little bit OCD back then, so I had them all organized, of course, by band. This is the Motley Crue. This is the Metallica. This is the Pantera. This is whatever. And then probably when I was about 13 or so, graduated to CDs. But I was never a big vinyl collector. I'd love to. I have a record player and I have a few, but I would love to, be able to start buying more vinyl. But because I love how it sounds. Like we recorded our old Dirtfedd album. We actually recorded the drums to 2-inch tape, which nobody ever does anymore. We did that to give it like that kind of warm record player sound. So, but yeah, totally tapes and CDs all the way.
It's just kind of our history thing. We like to find out where our roots come from, but we agree with you. The sound on vinyl is what kind of, I don't know, you get that feeling when you drop the needle. And
yeah,
I know Kane's going to be excited now to add a Dirtfedd song onto our Spotify playlist, just so we can hear those melodies you were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Oh, it's definitely going on. Yeah, it's definitely, it might be the whole album. Honestly, the whole thing's probably going on there.
I would recommend the song Salute. It's kind of like our anthem. And the chorus is drink, fight, fuck. And those 3 words pretty much sum up our career. So
EFF. I like it.
That's right.
I feel like we are talking to a famous person, and it's cool. And I don't want to be in the same room as you now, because I'm probably going to come up and be like, will you sign my...
That's funny.
Well, maybe my shirt.
Yeah.
We appreciate
definitely.
you being on here, though. You're pretty rad, man.
Cool. I appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely amazing.
I just love that you guys do this podcast. I wish more people did stuff like this. So
Thank you. We appreciate you guys coming on and people like you that, I mean, we're like so grateful because like, seriously, I'm going to have you sign probably some of my Scratch the Vinyl shirts though. Is that cool?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. On March 7th at Captain's.
Cool. Yeah.
I'll have you sign my kid. I think that makes more sense. I'll just take all my kids and have you sign their foreheads.
Yeah, right on their forehead. Great.
You have been another awesome guest, and we very much appreciate you. We do look at you, Brooke's right. We look at you as famous. You're not just Lincoln famous. You guys made it, and you made us all proud here in Lincoln. So thank you again, especially from one metalhead to another, a guy who's been grinding it out for years. I have nothing but the utmost respect for you and your band and what you continue to do, man. Just keep it up, honestly.
Cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
We can't wait to come and check out your next show for DadRock. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you guys there.
All right, everybody. Well, this one flew by like they all do. Maybe someday we'll have a 5-hour podcast, but for now we're sticking to the old format. So Brock, thank you so much for being on the show. And for all you listeners out there, thank you for continuing to scratch the vinyl with us. We'll see you guys next week here on
Scratch the Vinyl.